Hello viewers, here is a rather uncommon VN, at least out in the wild anyways. This is a prison VN. This would have been purchased as commissary in a prison, and as far as I know it, these are sold exclusively to correctional institutions and are not available to the general public. These VNs came up in conversation a couple of weeks ago in the context of the Lakewood Cool operator. I have seen a handful of those out there, but not many of them get out because most people, when they're finna leave prison, they're not thinking about bringing their commissary. You know, they're thinking about living their life again. So it's very rare that these VNs get brought home, but this one did. And after we had the conversation about these VNs, I said, yeah, I want to try to find one just because they're kind of cool. And so I searched up on the Amazons and I could not find anything on there. And I looked in a couple of other places and I wasn't able to find anything. So reluctantly, I went to the dreaded e-ripoff and I typed it in, and sure enough, a listing came up that said, VN I bought in prison. And this was the VN. I didn't look at the pictures very closely because the auction was, ironically enough, on its last couple of minutes, and they only wanted 7 beans and a half for it and 5 beans for the shipping. So I said, it's pretty reasonable, let's give it a shot. I didn't think that the VN would ever surface. I suspected that the seller would just mark the item as mysteriously vaporized from the planet when they discover that the shipping price is much higher than 5 beans. But they in fact proceeded to ship it at a total loss to themselves, and I feel terrible about the sale because eBay completely screwed over the seller in this situation, and I have to write them a message asking if they'd like they'd like more money for the sale, because I only gave them 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half beans for the thing, and they paid 21 just to ship it here. It ain't right. So I have to try to sort that out. And it was a first time seller on there, so I said, oh geez, it may not go well. But anyway, so it was in fact yet another eBay disaster. At least this time it wasn't a negative for me, but it's still bothering me because it's just, there's a moral issue here which was not correct. Anyways, here it is. It is not a Honeywell VN, which is kind of what I thought it looked like. I figured it was just like a Honeywell HT904 or whatever it was. But inherently that's not what it was. It is in fact a Massey product. And on the back, we have the informations, which are pretty much invisible. It says 8-inch high velocity VN, model number TF-806, 0.52 amps, made in China. Oh, great. And it was made in 01/19, so fairly recently. The motor in there is pretty substantial for a little plastic 8-inch VN. Looks to me like it would be a PSC motor, although the power draw seems kind of high. I have not opened it up yet to confirm the presence of a capacitor, but it certainly looks like a PSC motor to me. It has some engraving on each side. It says replacement. So I don't know, maybe it broke or something and they offer replacements. I don't think this is going to focus because it's just not, but it says replacement, and then there's a name and an inmate number written on there, so I covered that up for their privacy during the video. So what's kind of interesting about these is that they are somewhat clear. This one not quite as much as some of the other ones that I've seen. All of the items that are sold in commissary in prison are in some capacity clear. and the objective being that when the officers go through to check the cells, they would be able to see objects hidden under the fans. There's a certain term that it's called. What is it called? Come on, brain. This is not a time to not operate correctly. Well, I'll think of it sometime throughout the video. Anyways, so let's say you had a knife. I really wish I could remember what that term is. It's bothering me now. So let's say an inmate tried to hide a knife under there. In theory, the officer could come through and see it. However, if you move the fan forward at all, it's pretty much invisible. So I don't think that this is really as effective as it's set out to be. But it's still kind of a cool looking fan, nonetheless. I really wish I could remember what that term was. It's going to distract me through the entire video now. What in the world was it called? Ugh. Anyways, it's even got a clear cord, which is kind of neat. It's all tied up here with something, some kind of rubbery material. That's unusual. And it does have the infamous fuse to plug. 2.5 amps on the fuse. It's polarized. And the cord's not that long. Pretty average length, I guess. It does have wall mounting brackets. And the feet they're rubber, but it's a very hard, non-gripping material. 3-speed model. See, like the material the switch is made out of, that clear levelness is kind of what the whole thing should be made out of, I would think. It does have a carrying handle, but it's atrocious. I mean, you barely can grab it. And it's almost like it's... I don't think it's on a slant, but it's like your hand has a tendency to slip out of it rather than inwards. So the handle kind of stinks, but otherwise, seems like it's okay. The tilt's pretty decent. Seems like it goes all the way around. It only clicks into position in a certain range, which is fine. It would appear to stay anywhere that you put it. Anyways, that's enough introduction about it. Let's go ahead and plug this thing in, and hopefully as it's running I will think of what that term was. We're currently testing at 121 volts, right on the nose. So I'll go over to the amps, because that's what the measurement was in. It starts on high. We'll go all the way over it and start on low. That's a low? Huh. Well, I guess high velocity it actually is. Quite surprised. That is whipping out the air. I would say this is already getting close to, oh, it's got an aerodynamics issue to it. It was moving a lot of air, then it started to sound restrictive and it's not moving as much air anymore. It's extremely noisy, but the performance is actually really good. Even all the way across the room, it's still pretty strong. It's pulling 0.26 amps, 30 watts, and a power factor of 0.93, so it is a PSC motor. It's definitely got an aerodynamic issue to it. I suspect if the guard was removed, this would probably move a ton more air. Alright, well that's impressive. Let's go to the medium. Oh, there's a good increase in speeds too. Huh. There, did you hear that change? Now it doesn't have that resisted sound anymore. And now it does. No, it's not too close to the wall. It kind of sounds like the air can't get out of there fast enough. But even with that weird sound, the airflow is just unbelievable for a plastic fan this size. I think this is even more powerful than the old Honeywell turbo fans. 0.3 amps, so it's very efficient too. Alright, let's go to the high. Holy mackerel. Huh. That is unbelievable. I can't believe how strong that is. This is like tornado power or higher. Only 0.43 amps still. 52 the watts and 0.99 power factor. Huh. Unbelievable. And all the way across the room it's still strong. It's blaring loud, that's not good. But it performs pretty good. Huh. Water gets right up to speed. Obviously the bearings need to be lubricated. Huh. Well, that is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a piece of junk. But it's not bad. Huh. That's wild. The motor looks kind of like the same motors that's used in the in those fans I got from the Home Depot a couple years ago. The 10-inch or 12-inch model. I think it was a 12-inch model. That kind of floor fan-like thing. That's kind of what that motor looks like. It probably comes out of the same factory. I think all these motors and fans are just all coming out of the same place with different brands on them. Well, anyways, that is very interesting, and the performance of this fan, aside from the noise, is really quite impressive. I'm going to have to look this up and see if I can find a regular variant of it that can actually be purchased here in the US. I've never seen this model before, but I really don't spend a lot of time looking for cheap fans, so it's very possible that there is a regular consumer version of this fan sold.